Okay, let's get going. So, firstly, a really big hello and welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think looking at the attendees, we've got a few friends joining in from the West Coast. So, I hope you're enjoying your first coffee of the day. Those on the East Coast, I hope that we are the last thing standing between you and lunch. And of course, all of those dialing in from Europe, hope you've had a super day. Wherever you are calling in from, we really appreciate your time. We know how busy everyone is and how inundated we all are with these kinds of invites. So it's great to have you with us. So, what do we have for you today? Some really fascinating data and insight arising from our recent research around AI adoption. You'll be led expertly through this by my colleagues Shahada Akhtar, a strategy consultant, and Elle Davidson, our head of strategy. And I'm Brooke Calverley. I'm one of the co-founders of People Made. We are a world-leading culture change agency. We've got a pretty big ambition. We set out to help businesses do what they say by making sure that the people and talent strategy on the inside lines up with the brand and customer promises they make on the outside. And we do it right across the gamut. You can see there on the screen the kind of stuff that we do, everything from brand origination and change management right through to kind of EVP employer brand and out to service culture and customer experience. And we are super lucky to be doing it with some of the world's most exciting pioneers, leaders, and innovators right across the worlds of tech, leisure, retail, fashion, and many more. Anyway, that's enough about us. I'm going to hand you over in a moment to Shahada, who's going to kickstart our presentation today. She's going to be drawing from insights gleaned from a really deep pool of comms and people leaders who have attempted to sort of answer four big questions. So, when it comes to AI adoption, where are we today? How are we implementing AI in our businesses? What have we learned about what it takes to adopt and implement AI? And how might it ultimately improve the employee experience? Let me hand over the mic to you, Shahada. And yeah, looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Brooke. So let's dive in, first of all, by looking at how people are currently feeling about AI. And to understand that, we ask people to share what comes to mind when they think of AI. And we can see here a real mix. The efficiency, automation, productivity benefits really come through loud and clear, with some people even seeing AI as a game changer. But we can also see some concerns peppered into the mix too, with feelings of uncertainty and overwhelm. So, how is this translating for organizations approaching integrating AI? Almost half of our respondents are still working out how to build an AI-enabled workforce culture. And that's a culture where employees across all roles are equipped with the knowledge and skills to effectively integrate AI tech into their daily work. So it's not about becoming AI experts, but ensuring everyone feels ready and comfortable embracing AI technologies to enhance their capabilities. But our survey also found currently the leading challenges for AI adoption centered around cultural and capability barriers. So 88% of respondents talked about a lack of AI skills, 76% pointed to poor understanding of AI uses, as well as 65% who mentioned resistance to change as leading challenges to using AI in their workplaces. And so bridging that gap is a key part of creating a culture where employees feel empowered instead of fear, reinforcing the understanding that AI tools are to enhance employee output, not compete with them. Other challenges also flagged were around job security concerns, disconnected efforts, and weak leadership support. And so it's important to ensure these key elements are addressed when building an AI-enabled workforce culture that works for everyone. When integrating AI, it's essential that you have a clear understanding for how these tools fit within your organization. And recent MIT research revealed a learning gap for both tools and organizations was the key reason for unsuccessful implementation. When companies don't know how to teach AI tools to fit into their specific workflows, this learning gap develops, and that's from a mismatch between what the tools are capable of, what they need to do in practice, and how they're being used. And so value is getting lost in that gap. One way to address some of these concerns that we've seen is by building trust and clearly articulating that evolving value proposition that AI tools can bring. So our study found that open communication with staff at 75%, and alignment with wider business goals at 41% are the most popular methods to ensuring that AI is used transparently across workforce initiatives. So mapping how AI uptake can help to achieve some of those wider business goals helps to ground that value add. 66% of respondents also talked about applying ethical AI practices as a key measure for building and maintaining trust. Transparency and trust are key to ensuring employees not only see the value add, but they feel empowered to integrate the tools into their daily workflows. MIT research also shows that empowering line managers to reinforce that trust and transparency to drive adoption, as well as selecting tools that can integrate deeply and adapt over time, is also key for successful integration. Keeping up that open communication with employees, again, around that evolving value add that these tools can bring, is essential to ensuring that you continue to get the best out of your people over time. And when thinking about what that means for the kind of traits and behaviors to champion, our study shows collaboration is the leading cultural trait for championing AI adoption, as well as or alongside openness to change. So building an AI-enabled culture shouldn't be around this sort of top-down policy being rolled out, but bringing your employees and your teams on this journey by sharing the benefits as well as openly talking about and addressing any concerns to help unlock more of that openness and readiness for change. And that's what will help your workforce to really feel empowered and encouraged to adopt AI on a daily basis. Which brings us to how are people and AI working together? MIT research shows that AI drives the biggest ROI in back office automation, and that's supported by our research, which showed employee experience areas that are being improved by AI, kind of focused around analytics, feedback tools, automation. And so this unlocks, with that sort of back end taken care of, this unlocks time, opportunity, and energy for people to really focus on the more complex, creative, and relational work where human judgment and empathy and innovation matter most. And that's the real balance. AI takes on that scale and efficiency and productivity, where humans drive value through their creativity and connection. And so understanding the evolving kind of relationship between AI tools and people is what will help us to frame what building an AI-enabled culture successfully can look like. So successful AI transformation doesn't come from installing those tools alone. It comes from designing an ecosystem where both AI and people thrive side by side. I'll hand over to Elle now, who will take us through what the next steps are for adoption.
Thanks, Shahada, and hi everyone. Um, so yeah, so there's lots of great insights there, but what can you actually do as a business to take this forward? And that's what we've really been having a think about, based on our findings and also our expertise in this area. And we've got a few thought starters for you, which hopefully might be helpful for businesses embarking on this journey. Essentially, what we've got here is five takeouts to consider based on what Shahada just walked us through. The first one I think is really interesting, and it's really about identifying the value adds, which I think is quite a difficult thing to do because there's so many tools that are becoming available every day. We're inundated with ideas and promises of how AI can transform the work that we do. But what we're seeing is that actually getting really clear, taking a moment to define what value AI brings to your business, your people, your customers, and identifying those practical use cases is what's kind of really helping to first build that trust with employees and also empower them to start using the tools that you're implementing day to day. So yeah, just taking that moment to sort of step back, we're finding is something that's proving really valuable. The second one is around having open conversations. And as Shahada highlighted there from our research, I think there's a lot of fear around the integration of AI. Lots of challenges and resistance to the change that's coming. So having these open conversations is really key. Firstly, because it provides that forum to discuss the benefits of what new tools and ways of working might bring. It's also an opportunity for people to air any concerns that they might be having, and essentially, as a business, you can then support your employees and work through this together through that organisational change. The third one is around bridging the skills gap and really building the knowledge and skills that again you need within your business, based on the tools that you've identified again to add the optimum value. So here what we're seeing work really well is prioritising upskilling, which again does that empowerment piece. But it's also really demonstrating where AI tools are enhancing employee output rather than competing with employees, which again helps bring people along the journey and build that sort of positive relationship with AI and the changes that are being implemented. The fourth one is around collaboration, and what we've seen with other businesses is there can be a temptation for leaders to sort of enforce things top down, and although that role modeling is really needed, and you do need new policies, you do need that leadership. It's not sort of the one and only way to encourage adoption. What we're finding is that businesses that are really succeeding is where they're creating that environment for collaboration and grassroots innovation. So encouraging, peer-to-peer learning and being able to sort of highlight new tools that they might be trying out and saying, oh, hey, have you tried this? Have you given this a go? And that creates that sort of groundswell of support and also leads to the best ideas coming through because of course they can come from anywhere, and that's what's bringing people along the journey. And then the fifth one is really heroing the role that people play within all of this, and I think this is where company values become really useful because essentially what you're doing is almost like protecting the human elements that you hold dear, where humans are really adding value to your business and where AI won't be competing going forwards. So not just getting clear on sort of the role AI plays, but also getting really clear on the role that your people play. And that's what creates that culture that, again, really empowers and encourages people to do their best work. And of course, it's enhanced by AI, but it allays any sort of fears that people may be having as well and enables you to celebrate what's great about the people that you have within your business. And then if we just move on to the next slide, the sort of change that we can really see being unlocked and what we're finding is that culture is a real unlocker for this change. So getting really clear on the behaviours and mindsets that you want to encourage within your business is what's essential to then enable that adoption and long-term integration of AI. This is a huge shift. It's a massive moment in time. And there is, to be expected, a cultural shift that's needed and a really robust change management strategy to support that as well. So thinking about, firstly, the behaviours that are needed, whether it's more agility, more innovation, more collaboration, and then working out what change curve you need to go on with the appropriate communications and change strategy. Getting really clear on those two elements first means that by the time you get to designing new L&D programs, creating sort of toolkits and support for your people leaders, changing systems and processes, it means that the tactics that you put in place are laddering up to the right strategy. So we're seeing that as a sequencing of events being really helpful for businesses to help them get it right and prevent that sort of reactive knee jerk type of activity that can be really sort of inefficient in the long run. And one way that we're doing that with businesses is through a culture diagnostic. And essentially, what this is it gives you a picture and a snapshot of where your culture is today, which can be a really important first step. You know, before you start thinking about change in the future, what you need to do, it gives you that clear view of where you are today, what your strengths are, and what's needed going forwards to prepare for AI and to create the culture that your business needs. Because of course, every business is unique, and a culture that might work for one business might be totally different for another. So diagnostics we're finding are really helpful for creating that current state picture. And the way that we do that is that we look at the business from four angles. Firstly, sort of how you work together, which includes how you collaborate, how you communicate, um, all of that kind of thing. And then how you make decisions is another angle, which you can imagine explores levels of hierarchy, democracy, empowerment, autonomy, ownership. How you approach change is our third angle, and that's about sort of readiness for change, innovation, agility, speed of decision making, entrepreneurship, and then finally how you drive performance. So the levels of sort of competitiveness within a business, performance management, how people are motivated and encouraged to do their best work day to day. So those four angles create this really rich and varied picture of where your culture is, and how that's supporting your adoption of AI. And then the way that we gather that diagnostic is through a number of inputs. And we can get these from a variety of sources. So sometimes we gather new research for our clients. Other times we look at existing research that might already be, held within the business. Typically, it's a combination of qualitative and quantitative research. So sometimes we go in and do depth interviews or employee focus groups, might be workshops and hackathons, places where you can get a really rich understanding of how people are feeling and thinking around the culture and the behaviours that are ingrained today. And then the quantitative research, of course, gives you really clear data and statistics to work from. It's great for measurement going forwards as well, which you can imagine might come from surveys or poll studies. So coupled together, that can give you a rich picture of what's going on, but also why, which is really important for starting to chart the future culture and to then do that sort of future piece around what culture do we need, what behaviours do we need to ingrain, how do we take people on this change journey. So yeah, that's our culture diagnostic. And I would recommend it as a first step anyway, to just take that step and think, where are we today? Assess the reality before moving forwards and planning for the future and bringing your business along with you. That is everything that we had to share today. So now we're going to move on to questions, and it would be great to hear any questions from our participants today. Please feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll pick them up and do our best to answer a few.
Thanks
I
very
can
much,
see.
Al.
Go on, Brooke.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Al. Imogen, I think you've been on duty. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So, Al, someone's asked, what's the number one thing organizations should be thinking about in regards to integrating AI? So, I think you shared quite a few ideas then. What would be your priority, or perhaps the first action that one should take in a situation like this?
Yeah, great question. And I think my number one thing would be taking that moment to to consider what AI enhancements you need in your business. So it's that sort of value add piece. Because it's very easy to get sort of sucked into, integrating all and every tool. And actually, each business is unique, and finding out which ones are going to be most valuable for you it is what's going to drive the most impact. So that would be where I'd start. Yeah. Any other thoughts from Shahada or Brooke? No. So
I was letting Shahada just no, I completely agree. I think that sort of that starting point about actually what is AI actually going to do for your organization and being really clear on role it plays and what it's for, rather than just kind of rushing into it as a sort of vague, cloudy kind of solution. I think is absolutely right. Oh, Imogen has just shared one other question as well. What can senior leaders do to help businesses adopt AI? I think you touched on something a little bit earlier, didn't you, about role modeling? But what's the wider role, do you think, Elle, that leaders have to play in helping organizations successfully adopt and implement AI?
yeah, I think it's in that readiness for change piece. I think that's one thing that leaders have um a job to do. It's really important that they are helping their teams prepare for that change and demonstrating that themselves. So there is the role modeling piece, of course, um, but yeah, sort of equipping and enabling people to be ready to respond to new ways of working, new team setup, new ways of resourcing our work and delivering for customers. So yeah, those are the two things I'd be thinking about: the role modeling and sort of creating that readiness for change.
Fantastic. Thank you, Elle. I'm literally just, oh, here we go. No other questions. Very good. In that case, I will draw a close to this. Thank you again to everybody that was able to join us today. Thanks to Shahada and Elle. Some really fascinating stuff there on a topic that obviously is both very germane and live at the moment, but also one that's very dynamic. Lots of change going on. Really fascinating to see how businesses already are sort of rapidly evolving their thinking around this, but also still clearly lots to do. And thanks for those pointers around what organisations, what practical steps they can start to take. Goes without saying, if anybody on the webinar would like to talk with Shahada or Elle a little bit more, or get a copy of the report, the deeper report that we made following the research. Of course, very happy we will share that. Otherwise, it'll leave me to say thank you all again for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, however much of it is left, and look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, probably sometime in October. Watch this space.